segue. I would love to just transition. I know because I recently rewatched Generation Iron Natty for Life, and obviously you were featured in that. What was that experience like? That was really cool. Obviously, that they documented the natural bodybuilding side of things, Generation Iron, and they're starting to do that more now, which is pretty
Yeah.
cool. But yeah, what was that like for you?
You know, I watched the original Generation Iron when I was getting ready for like my first real competitive season because I believe it came out in 2014, if I'm not mistaken. And that was really the first year that I was competitive in bodybuilding. I say I started bodybuilding in 2012. I started competitive bodybuilding in 2014. So right around that time was when bodybuilding really started to see a resurgence. And my favorite thing is when people go, well, we're involved in this thing. It's a very niche sport. It's a very niche subsect. I can go into any Barnes and Noble, any A&P, any Stop and Shop, Publix, and pick up a bodybuilding magazine. They all carry muscular development. They all carry muscle and fitness. It's not a niche sport. It's
That's
not.
true. That is
It's
true.
really not, because it used to be that you had to find a newsstand that carried bodybuilding magazines, and they may have one that was 3 months old, and that's what you picked up, right? Back in the day, the fact that Arnold Schwarzenegger had a book that told you how to be a bodybuilder was absolutely insane. Everybody was like, "Who would buy this?" And young kids trained with that book for 30 years. But nowadays, literally every fitness personality comes out with their own book, and it'll be on the New York Times online best 100 of the week bestsellers. Like it's a thing. It's grown. Okay, it's not niche anymore. So stop saying that. But what it is it's misunderstood, right? It's fragmented in terms of if you're natural or unnatural. If you're natural, which federation you're with, what you think the biggest show is, where you think the best competition is. So it really does come down to this idea of people trying to convince themselves that, we're the guys in the dungeon and we're the ones doing the work and stuff like that. But Generation Iron around that time really solidified that, like, since pumping iron, not only has the sport grown, but the prizes have grown, the draw has grown. So you take a look at the audience from the Mr. Olympias in the 80s to now, and it's like it never slowed down. The trajectory was always up, right? It just is for some people and it isn't for other people. So to have a movie document bodybuilding in general like that, and then have them do it for my subsect of bodybuilding, and then ask me to be a subject matter expert in it, was surreal. When that movie comes out and it's on Netflix or a DVD, or it's playing in theaters, and you're like, holy shit, that's me, man. It's interesting, and it's weird because uh, it's like watching a documentary, or I'll even say like binge watching a series that you helped write, so you know what the ending is, and you're kind of looking around at everybody else like, here it comes, because I knew how that movie was going to end. I was there, so it was interesting because it was almost like watching them romanticize your life, because it's these special effects, and it's really high def cameras and these cool music, and it's put together like a montage. It's basically like watching someone romanticize your life, where you're like, man, they made that look really cool. Like, it was a surreal experience, and I hope that in the future, the Generation Iron Network has just recently become as the PMBA, I say our since I'm the captain for Team USA. It's become our main source of disseminating information, and we're exclusive partners with them in terms of advertising. And I really hope that, because I mean, you can look at the comment section of anything, actually, right? Social media is a cancer at this point, because you look at things and it's like on the Generation Iron website, when they were carrying all the mass monsters and stuff from the IFBB, it's gross. These guys have little peepees, it's everything. And then as soon as they switched over to natural bodybuilding coverage, who are these guys? Why do I care? I've never even heard of this guy.
Or not
Social media.
Natty. It'll
Yeah,
be like not
exactly.
Natty. Yeah.
Listen, the amount of times that I find my own photos on the subreddit Natty or Juice, I'm like, guy, if you read and the industry, it's hilarious, because they're like, look at his vascularity. That's not possible. And I'm like, my vascularity is what did it for you? I'm 150 pounds. If I'm using steroids, these are the worst steroids that you could possibly get. If I'm using steroids, you should be ashamed that this is considered performance enhancement, because in a large shirt, I look like I don't even lift. So when it comes down to it, people just look at photos and they go, here's how you can tell. And my favorite explanation was when I believe he was the COO of CrossFit when they did Fittest on Earth, said, I'm sure there's people who are using steroids and try to beat the tests for the CrossFit games, but we get constant messages going, look at how big this guy is, or look at how strong this guy is. He's on steroids. And he goes, at one point, Lance Armstrong was on everything under the sun, and no one knew it by looking at him. So it's like looking at somebody in a suit and going, wow, that guy must be rich. That's what does it for you, the suit? That's all you need for reassurance? So for me, it really does come down to that understanding of like, you can't look at a photo on Reddit and go, I know, right? The percentage of you being right increases with certain aspects, right? If you have a guy who's 5'5", 215, all right, that seems ridiculous. So the percentage of that person not being natural is in the 99th percentile, right? We can agree with that. If you see somebody who wasn't show ready a week out, and then out of nowhere, they're super hard, dry, and dense, all right, the percentage meter's going up a little bit on the BS call here. If in 1 year they put on 20 pounds of lean muscle naturally, all right, that 99th percentile is starting to come back here, right? So all of those comments and stuff like that is just either, one of two things. People just not understanding, how to measure that and what that's supposed to look like. Or flip to the other side, they don't even understand what's capable in terms of people naturally versus performance enhanced. And then the other camp is just they're there to say those things. They came to the social media post to be that prick.
Be that
they
guy,
came
yeah.
there. Exactly. They came there for that confrontation. So if I could give anybody some advice, it's nice to support those who support you, but you should probably stay out of the comments section. I mean, you start getting, any sort of publicity at all, and somebody is going to, hop in your DMs and say you don't know what you're talking about, or it was a fluke or a sham, and it's going to feed your inferiority complex and feed your imposter syndrome. Take a step back, man. Don't read that stuff. But the reason I bring all that up is because I felt they did a great job showcasing middle of the road in terms of them not saying, we're the best and we're without reproach. But they also did a very good job going, look at the great things they do. Look at the size of this production. Look at, how much they're doing for the voice of natural bodybuilding, so on and so on. And I just hope that it keeps going that way, because there's a lot more stuff in the pipes. We have a lot more great stuff to show. And I think that this coming year is really going to be one that puts natural bodybuilding in stride based on what's been going on recently. So
that's incredible. That's awesome. Yeah, because I was checking out the Instagram, and it's like every other post now is something about natural bodybuilding, which is
we're exclusive partners with them. So if you like bodybuilding, right? I hate when we say that, right? It's just two different schools of bodybuilding. But if you like bodybuilding, there's going to be a lot of great information and a lot of great coverage. And I would just say to people, listen, there's a lot of people up there that could do what you could never do, and it's still impressive. It's just a different class and a different school of thought and a different outcome in terms of what it looks like when it's done. But the capability, the suffering, the possibilities of what we're doing to make the physique look as perfect as possible is right there, and it's just as interesting. And I think that if a lot more people would sort of give in to this idea that they don't have to be as big as a car or SUV to be impressive, and you're looking at it for different, possibilities of aesthetic look. I think that a lot of people are really going to start to dial in on how impressive this sport on our side in terms of drug tested bodybuilding truly is.